In the small Wisconsin town of Antigo, April Balascio grew up under the roof of a loving but deeply unsettling household. Her father, Edward Wayne Edwards, seemed to wear two faces. In public, he was charming and charismatic, a father who took his kids on cross-country trips and had a knack for storytelling. At home, however, there was a darker atmosphere. April often noticed her father's temper, his unpredictable moods, and an underlying sense of fear that pervaded their lives. By the time she reached adulthood, April had long suspected that her father was hiding something sinister. She would later recall the unease she felt when strange things happened around their home, like when families in the neighborhood suffered mysterious tragedies, or when they abruptly moved across states for no clear reason. In 2009, now a grown woman with children of her own, April began searching her father's name online after watching a documentary about unsolved murders. She came across a case that immediately caught her attention: the 1980 double murder of Tim Hack and Kelly Drew in Wisconsin. The young couple had vanished after attending a wedding, and their bodies were later discovered in a wooded area. The case had gone cold for decades. April couldn't shake the feeling that her father was connected. She remembered being a teenager in Wisconsin at the time of the murders, and she recalled that her family had lived near the area. More chillingly, she remembered them suddenly moving away, with no explanation, not long after the murders. Driven by intuition, April called a detective from the Jefferson County Sheriff's Office. She shared her suspicions about her father. The detective, intrigued, began investigating Edward Edwards again. Through DNA analysis and renewed investigative efforts, they connected Edwards to the murders of Tim Hack and Kelly Drew. His DNA had been recovered from the crime scene, but had remained unidentified until that point. Edwards was arrested in 2009 at the age of 76. What followed shocked the country. Once in custody, Edwards confessed not only to the 1980 murders but also to at least 3 other killings. He admitted to the 1977 murder of Billy Lavaco and Judy Straub in Ohio, and to the 1996 murder of his own foster son, Danny Boy Edwards, whom he killed for insurance money. Investigators later theorized that Edwards could have been responsible for even more murders stretching back to the 1960s, though not all were confirmed. He had managed to evade detection for decades by constantly relocating, altering his appearance, and staying under the radar. He appeared in public as a reformed criminal, and even published a memoir in the 1970s, falsely portraying himself as a man who had left crime behind. In 2010, Edwards was convicted of multiple murders and sentenced to death. However, he died in prison of natural causes in April 2011 before the sentence could be carried out. April, who had turned in her own father, carried the emotional weight of her decision but believed justice was necessary. Edward Edwards is believed to be one of the most cunning and manipulative serial killers in American history. He used charm and deception to hide his crimes in plain sight. Thanks to the courage and persistence of his daughter April, a decades-long trail of violence was finally exposed. The victims' families finally had answers, though not all were satisfied. Some believe Edwards may have committed even more murders that remain unsolved to this day. His true count of victims may never be known,